Hey folks, what's up? This is Adam here, aka Guy. Welcome to the Movie Vault. Coming back to reviewing the Hellraiser franchise. I've already done a review on the first movie, Hellraiser 1, and of course the sequel which followed that, Hellbound Hellraiser 2. Well, now we've come up to the next installment of the franchise, simply known as Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. And yes, this is Blu-ray, just like the previous two. Only in this very cool edition, this triple box set of Hellraiser 1, 2 and 3 on Blu-ray. The rest of the Hellraiser movies like Bloodline, Inferno, Hellseeker, well, I should say Deader. I own Deader on DVD, but Bloodline, Inferno, Hellseeker and Hellworld are on Blu-ray also. In this, there's something special about this edition, but it's like a multi-feature Blu-ray set, and of course I could say Deader, got it right here on DVD. I don't know why it wasn't involved in like the Blu-ray series set, but it's totally irrelevant to this review. Now, Hellraiser 3, I remember watching this for the first time. I remember not liking it. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was because I wasn't in the mood to watch a horror movie that day, or I wasn't in the mood for a gory film, or I just simply wasn't in the mood, you know. And it took me a long time to adapt and good feel for Hellraiser 3. Okay, but that was years ago. I mean, I watched Hellraiser 3 the first time when I was like about 14, 15 years of age, and around about the same age as I checked out 1 and 2, and I liked 1 and 2. But for some reason, number 3, I didn't quite connect to it like I did the first two movies, but that was then. Okay, I've seen Hellraiser 3 countless times now, and I must say I really enjoyed the film. Okay, it does take place right after the second movie, because at the start of the movie you get introduced to this guy by JP, who owns a nightclub called the Boiler Room, and he goes into the store where he encounters that pillar from the end of Hellraiser 2, you know, where the pillar raised up from the mattress, and that bum from Hellraiser 1 was like on the pillar saying, "What is your pleasure, sir?" Well, that is like developed into this some kind of statue now, and this store owner sells JP Morrell the statue, and he's collecting it for some weird shit which has got stored in his Boiler Room nightclub. You know, little does he know, Pinhead is stuck inside the statue along with the configuration box. And he doesn't know this until later on in the movie when all hell raises, basically, because we're getting introduced to our late main lead, Joey Summerskill, who's a reporter. Now, Joey Summerskill, she was a fine lead. I've got no major problems with her. To be honest, I prefer Kirsty, who was played by Ashley Lawrence. I thought she did more of like a better job in the Hellraiser films, well, at least in Hellraiser 1 and 2. I know she came back for Hellseeker, but I don't like that movie, and I'll get into that when I review it. But Joey Summerskill, she was fine as an actress, and I think she did fine as a leading role. I just prefer Kirsty more, you know, because she was the one that was she was one that was all originally introduced to, and we got used to her. And I know in part 2 we got introduced to Tiffany also, but Tiffany doesn't ever get heard of ever again, which is kind of sad because I kind of liked her in that role. I know she's no angel in real life, but that's another video for a different day. Well, basically, Joey Summerskill, she's doing this story because she's a reporter, and she wants to know more of the story because this one night, this guy gets taken into a hospital and he's ripped apart by bloody chains. And the woman who brought her in is this goth chick by the name of Terry, and she knows a lot more than what she's saying at the time. So Joey's trying to track her down. She even goes to the Boiler Room nightclub, you know, where JP Morrell works and owns the club, you know. Takes a while for him to track her down, but while all this is happening, JP Morrell is getting obsessed with his statue. When he puts his hand in like the statue, he gets bitten by a rat, and the blood from the rat bite kind of resurrects Pinhead. Because Pinhead is now split into two worlds. There's an evil part and there's a good part. The evil part is stuck inside the statue, where the good part is stuck in this domain in the World War, basically, where Pinhead, aka Doug Bradley, who comes back for the third time to play Pinhead, is given a lot more to do. So he plays Pinhead and he plays Doug Bradley in two separate roles in this movie. Okay, so one thing leads to another, you know. Pinhead is now stuck in the statue, kind of like how Frank was stuck in the attic in part 1. And to become resurrected and whole again, he needs bodies. So he informs JP Morale about this, because there's a time where JP Morale's fucking this girl in his bed, and she gets ripped apart, and Pinhead basically uses her remains to get stronger again. At this time, Joey and Terry, they meet and they become more of a partnership. You know, she even offers Terry to stay in her apartment at one stage because she's trying to get more information out of her regarding the configuration box. They even go to the store where the configuration box was sold, but no one's in sight. But they're breaking anyway, and they find out all kinds of information about the configuration for all these papers and drawings that they find. Okay. While all this is happening, there's a scene where JP Morale lures Terry into the bedroom and plans to feed it to Pinhead, but she uses brass knucks on him and fucking bashes him, and Pinhead uses JP Morale's body instead, and then he becomes whole again into one resurrected body. And he begins to leads Terry away. You know, basically he turns into a Cenobite, as you saw towards the end of the movie. Okay. And I admit the first half of the movie is pretty slow. It is slow at times, but it really builds up to the third act. Because in my opinion, the third act of the movie is the best part of the movie. You know, where Pinhead goes on this massive rampage. I mean, there's even my favourite scene, which I like to talk about, is the nightclub scene where Pinhead takes out a whole nightclub full of people. And it's fucking awesome. It kind of reminded me of Wishmaster, that Wes Craven made. You know, the horror movie Wishmaster. You know, where he kills that entire party full of people. Well, he was exactly the same. There's chains flying here, chains flying there. A guy's eyeball gets ripped apart. CDs buzz in the air and cut into the DJ's face, which later on he becomes a Cenobite. You know, and he just takes out all these people in a fucking nightclub. He just goes to show that Pinhead does not give a shit, and he just takes out the entire fucking nightclub of all these innocent people, you know, getting all ripped apart by these chains, you know. But along the way, Joe Summerskill's having these nightmares about her father because he was killed in Vietnam, you know, and she gets connected to the good side of Pinhead, which was Doug Bradley in the Outer Worlds, and she learns from him that Pinhead must be stopped. And the only way to stop Pinhead is to bring him into the domain so they become joined yet again. And whatever she must do is not surrender the box to the Pinhead. And that's basically what Pinhead, the last act is about. It's about Joey Summerskill trying to lure Pinhead into the domain where he can be stopped by Doug Bradley, basically. You know, the sergeant. Now, a lot of people complain about the new Cenobites in this movie because if you remember correctly, the Cenobites got killed at the end of part 2 by Dr. Channard, the original Cenobites. You know, the Butterball Cenobite, the female Cenobite, the Chatterer. You know, and that was a crying shame. And I admit, I prefer the original Cenobites over the Cenobites in this movie, but they weren't that bad. I mean, I've met one of the cast members in this movie. Yes, I've met Pinhead, who plays Doug Bradley. But I've also met one of the new Cenobites in this movie. Do you remember the camera Cenobite? Where he zooms in and goes, "Ready for your close-up, Joey?" I've met that Cenobite. You know, I met him when I was about 16 years of age. He was signing autographs in Birmingham. And I had the honour of meeting him. So that was a nice bit of icing on the cake, meeting a camera Cenobite. Now, when I met Simon Brownford, who played the Butterball Cenobite from Hellraiser 1 and 2, we got talking about the Cenobites in Part 3, and even he said that the Cenobites in Part 3 seemed a lot more modern. And in a way, he was right, because we have a camera Cenobite, we have the DJ Cenobite who throws the CDs, we have the one that sets people on fire because he shakes like this gasoline and then blows fire, setting people on fire. And of course, Terry became a Cenobite, and so did JP Monroe, but they didn't really do anything because towards the end they fail at their job because Joey manages to get them all into the box before she gets rid of it. You know, but I've got no complaints from the new Cenobites. I mean, I thought they were cool characters. I mean, like I say, they go on this rampage in the city. The camera Cenobite goes through a guy's brain, and Even these cops try and stop the Cenobites, but they end up getting killed by the Cenobites also. There's a scene where Pinhead goes mental in church. I am the way. This is my body. This is my supper. Come and do my supper. you know? Yeah, it's like, I didn't say the words correctly, but I know where he's coming from. And it was a pretty cool scene to see the scene of all the effects of the glass smashing through on the church. And the effects from the whole movie were impressive. From the start of the scene where the kid got ripped apart by the bloody chains and everything else throughout the whole movie. So it was an impressive movie when it came to effects and blood and gore. I mean, I was also happy at the fact that Pinhead had a lot more to do. You could say in Hellraiser Part 1 he didn't have that much dialogue, he didn't have that much screen time. But here in Part 3 he does not simply give a shit. He breaks the rules, and there's a lot more for Pinhead to do, especially when Doug Bradley played two people. That was himself and, of course, the Pinhead himself also, So there was a lot more for him to do. Anyway, Joey Summerskill, she manages to get rid of the Cenobites, and she succeeds in her mission of trying to lure Pinhead into this domain where he ends up fighting his human self, but they both get conjoined. Joey stabs him in the heart with the configuration box when it develops into this sort of spear. And at the end of the movie, she buries it in cement. And just before the credits roll, it gives that huge shocking surprise that the boxes there become a big company. The configuration boxes turn into a large company. And then the credits roll. And we get that cool kick-on song, Hellraiser! Hellraiser! Love that song. So that was really great for the credits. So overall, Hellraiser 3, I've grown to like it. I admit at the start, when I first watched it, it took me a long time to get into it, but I did like it. And even to this day, I think to say that the trilogy is definitely the best one. This box set contained the first three Hellraiser movies, Hellraiser 1, 2, and 3. This is where the Hellraiser movies count. After the Hellraiser 3, kind of goes downhill from there, but my hatred for the Hellraiser movies never really kicked in until, I would say, Hellseeker. So kind of disappointing and goes on down on this negativity path. But I have a lot of fun with Hellraiser 3. Is it the most fun one? I should say so, because we've got number 1, which is a classic. A lot of people say number 2 is like the first one, but made again, but with more gory aspects and more adventure added on to it. Where Part 3 was kind of like the fun version, because we get nightclub scenes, we get city scenes, where the Pinhead causes all the havoc and all that kind of thing. It was nice to see Doug Bradley come back to play Pinhead for the third time. And it was nice to see that he had a lot more to do with his character also. Ashley Lawrence did make a cameo in this movie. There was a scene on a VHS tape where she's talking, but it's just a shame she never took part in the film physically, and not more getting the role. I know she comes back in Hellseeker, which I've already mentioned, but boy, that movie sucks. And I'm not going to get into why just now. I'll get into it when I review the movie, but that's basically my review, everybody. Really enjoyed doing this review of Hellraiser Hell on Earth, and I got done watching it moments ago, so I'm going to do this review. Had a blast. Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth. Definitely one of the best ones in the series. And it's definitely one of the best ones out of the first three trilogy movies. Thanks, everyone, and I'd like to hear your thoughts also. Please leave in comments below and email me if you've got any questions. Thanks, everybody. Peace out.